Hi, my name is Matt Jaden from Texas Tech University, and I'm presenting my project on the diabetic crisis in America. Diabetes currently affects 26 million Americans in America. This project is really important to me because I'm a type 1 diabetic myself. The diabetic crisis in America has to deal with the price of insulin and how much it costs to live with this disease. It's not a disease that any of us chose to have. It's an autoimmune disease for type 1s. And we require insulin just to live. For me, personally, I have to spend about $500 every 3 months on insulin just to live. I take two different kinds, and that is after insurance. For many people, it's more. Many people don't have the insurance that they need to be able to afford this life. And right now, there's many corporations out there that just don't care. For me, I looked at this project from three different disciplines. I looked at it from the math aspect of it, which goes into depth on how much it actually costs, the companies to produce this insulin, how much it costs pharmacies to get this insulin, and how much it actually costs Americans to be able to receive this insulin. This insulin is really, really exorbitantly priced, and it's gone up insane amounts in the past few years alone. I looked at it from a marketing strategy standpoint. From the marketing strategy standpoint, I looked at it on how much money these companies make, how much money that the actual CEOs of these companies make, how these companies go about actually advertising their products. Like, some of them advertise to doctors and professional advertising, and they actually give these doctors bonuses if the clients use a certain kind of medicine based on the doctor's recommendation. And then I went into it based on the organizational leadership role. The organizational leadership aspect of this is very interesting. I did not realize that these companies were ran so much like just regular businesses. I thought companies out there making medicine were made to help us, and us as in type 1 diabetics or diabetics in general, people that need this medicine to live. What I have found out was that diabetes actually is a business for these companies. They use it to make money, not to help people. Maybe back in a long time ago, it was to help people, but now it has become just a business to make money. These CEOs are chosen based on their abilities to make money and not their ability to help people. The patents on these insulins are very, very frightening. Basically, they can renew these patents every few years by making one little tiny change. By tiny, I mean the smallest instance that you would never ever notice as someone taking this insulin. It will not affect you, and they're able to renew these patents just by the tiniest of change to make it so the market's not able to compete with them. By not being able to compete with them, it makes it a very unfair market and keeps it to where it's just these very few businesses making tons and tons of money on these consumers. All of this leads me into my main question of the paper. My question is, how can citizens, or type 1 and type 2 diabetic citizens in America, get the insulin they need to live without being financially crippled? In my paper, I went through several different articles and several different methods of research on how I did it. I went from articles about how to get cheaper insulin, which in most of these articles on how to get cheaper insulin and how they can afford it went into our social system and how lower income people have different healthcare benefits in different states that they can use. I wasn't specifically looking for this, and it was kind of concerning that the only things I could find on the fact of getting cheaper insulin was the lower income having a social care system to help them, as you have to be a very low income to qualify for that kind of care. I myself went through this in that I made too much money last year to be able to get health care from the government. So I had to get health insurance myself, which led me to find a job that offered health insurance. A lot of people in lower income don't have that luxury of being able to have the opportunity to get a job like that. And so it really helps them. And I was very concerned to see that most people that looking at the lower income just looked at, hey, use an old insulin that's not good. And when I say old, I mean like not pig insulin days, but the $25 insulin from Walmart. It's not very good for you compared to the insulin nowadays. It's been proven. Um, that and the fact of just, hey, rely on the social system, make the government buy the insulin for you. That doesn't fix that the insulin is such a high price that we need it to live, and that the government is our way to save us. There's organizations out there like the National Diabetes Association who say they help us and they help awareness for this, but their main funding is from these pharmaceutical companies that make the insulin. To me, that's a big conflict of interest, as you don't want to hurt these companies by putting the wrong things out, because your funding will be cut off. That's very concerning, because that means that they really might not have our best interest at heart, that they really might have these pharmaceutical companies' interest at heart. I used Repco's 10 steps of interdisciplinary research to put my 3 topics together. For each topic, you can't look at this question and answer it completely. For math, you can go and say, hey, there's all this math, and I can add up all this, and hey, it equals this much for this consumer. A lot of times that changes, especially in different parts of America. In different countries, it's even worse. Insulin can go from a 5% markup all the way to a 5,000% markup in some places. So it's very so much that looking at it just from that one standpoint, you can't see as a whole why it's happening. With the marketing strategies, you can look and see, hey, advertisers are out there, they're advertising this insulin, they're making new patents every year. But you can't look at why they're doing this completely. You can just see, hey, they're doing this, they're making a profit. There's motivations behind this, which leads you into the organization as a whole. These organizational leaders and CEOs weren't chosen to help people. These organizational leaders and CEOs were chosen to make a profit. This profit they make is very fundamental to their lives. It's their job to make a profit for these companies. So by putting together that you can make a profit for these companies, that it's unfair to be able to just look at math in one way and to see that there is marketing out there, you have to find a way to find some common ground between these different aspects. The common ground in this situation has to deal with a lot of the research I found. A lot of the research for these articles deals with the fact that these companies are making a crazy amount of money on not just as a whole, but every vial of insulin that goes out. A lot of these vials of insulin only cost a couple dollars to make, and they're selling for hundreds to thousands of dollars for one vial of insulin. To put that into perspective, I use 3 vials of each kind of my insulin per month. So my insurance pays a whole bunch, and I still pay $500 every 3 months just to live. With these prices being so high, is it fair for them to be high? Is the research behind what these companies are doing worth it? I would say no, based on my research, and I've found that they haven't really changed a whole lot in the past. They just keep changing a little bit to keep their patents up. And I found that through all of these articles, the common thing that they come to is that we as individuals can't stop what is happening. We cannot help the fact that insulin is ridiculously high. We can lobby, we can contact our administrators, we can write letters, we can do what we can to try to get them on our side. But as individuals, the companies don't care about us because we're a small little bit of the profit they make. We have to have this product to live. No matter how much we try to say against it, if we decide to boycott this product, we'll die, which gives them all the leverage they need to raise prices as much as they want. We need companies, or organizations, I should say, like the Diabetic Society of, or Diabetic Society of America, and different diabetic outreach programs that use their main funding from these companies. We need them on our side. We need them to get their main motivations from a company that's not the ones producing the insulin, but from us as individuals that need the help. with the help from the politics, with the help from the different leaders of these organizations that actually want to help us, then we may have a chance to get insulin at an affordable price that we can live with. Right now, there's people dying out there because they can't live with it. They're rationing insulin where they just can't afford it, and they're dying because of it. We need help from not just the pharmaceutical companies, but we need help from the people in power, the politics, the diabetic organizations, the ones that say they're there to help us. We need proof. We need them to be on our side, and we need them to fight these pharmaceutical companies that are really price gouging us as a whole. With my thesis, I went in thinking that there would be a clear-cut conclusion on something that could really help the diabetic society as a whole. What I came out with was that there's not a good solution to actually finding the answer to this problem. I thought this would be a complex problem, and that using these 3 topics I could easily fix. Well, not easily, but go through and fix. I have come to the conclusion this is more of a wicked problem, and this is why we're starting to see it on the news, especially with people like Bernie Sanders, as an actual problem in the politics, because it's not a problem that it can be fixed, especially easily or anytime soon. With our company, with these pharmaceutical companies being very profit motivated and not really caring about us consumers anymore, it makes a problem on how do we get our point across that we need this product to live and we can't afford it. So, in conclusion, it leaves us in a very bad place. I came in with that thought thinking that there would be an answer. There's not. We need help when it comes to this problem, and it has to come from the large pharmaceutical companies, the large organizations, the politics. It has to come from someone bigger than just an individual as a whole. Thank you for hearing my research project. It was not at all what I expected, and I did a lot of work on this research to get such a disappointing conclusion. Have a nice day.